Hello, I am the Greek Geek because I am Greek and indeed a geek. For my returning subscribers, you might notice that I have a lack of facial hair. Always check the settings on your electric razors, my friends, because I had a very low setting and I just basically effed up my beard. So now I am back to how I looked when I was 18, 19, 20 years old. Oh, it's so smooth. Shazam! Exclamation mark. Is DC's latest attempt at showing us that they are capable of making half-decent superhero movies. The cast. Zachary Levi and Asher Angel, I think, did a very good job portraying Billy Batson / Shazam, but we all know his real name is Captain Marvel. Zachary Levi did a fantastic job of playing a child in an adult's body. He just does that very well, almost naturally.
I'd like to purchase some of your finest beer, please.
The kids and the parents in the foster home are all fantastic. I really enjoyed their characters, and they're all very racially diverse as well. Mark Strong did the best he could, I think, with what he had. He plays a generic supervillain. And I'm serious in saying there is a scene in the movie where he is sitting in the shadows and leans forward to reveal his face. The most supervillainy thing you could possibly do, and very generic. There was nothing that made him stand out to me as a supervillain. He was just generic, talking about evil things. He was evil because his family mistreated him, and he just wanted to be evil for the sake of being evil and just wanted more power. Not a very deep motivation. The 7 Deadly Sins were an interesting concept. I liked the idea of them being in the movie, but their designs were very bland and generic. They looked bland and generic. They needed some color to them and make them a bit more distinctive. They just kind of all look the same. This movie has a very heavy theme of the importance of family and your friends and relying on other people to help you. I enjoyed seeing Billy Batson's arc in being basically a loner and then eventually coming to rely on people to help him when he needs it. I also liked seeing him develop his powers and realize that he has to be responsible for those powers and not cause harm to others. For example, that scene where he accidentally shoots lightning and hits a bus that risks the lives of many people. The best thing that this movie does is its humor and its tone. Very light, very comedic tone. It does that very well. There are jokes going pretty much throughout the whole movie, and for the most part, it is all very good. I was laughing throughout most of the movie. I really think if it wasn't for Zachary Levi's performance and Asher Angel and the other side characters, if it wasn't for them, this movie would just be a bland superhero movie. And, speaking of bland, the action in this movie is bland. In a movie where there's superheroes that can fly, have superhuman strength, can shoot lightning bolts and all that kind of stuff, and if the fight scenes are boring, you're doing something wrong. When Shazam and Dr. Savannah are facing each other, it boils down to throwing a couple of punches at each other, maybe a couple of throws, talking to each other a bit. Shazam runs away, and then Dr. Savannah finds him again, and then rinse and repeat that a couple of times, and that's the fight scenes in this movie. The fight scenes weren't very well choreographed either. They felt very stunted, like they would get a bit of momentum and then they would just stop. They didn't flow very well. Just comparing it to Aquaman, which came out last year, the action in that was fantastic. This one, it is very dull. They don't flow with the action. They're constantly stopping and starting, and it does not flow well. Special effects. Is it me, or were the special effects like really, really bad? Like, not like, oh, they weren't that great. I mean, they were really bad. For a blockbuster movie in 2019 with the CGI this bad, it is horrible. Like, for example, the 7 Deadly Sins, they looked alright in most scenes, but in other scenes they looked really bad. The scene where the bus falls off the ramp, and that was really bad CGI. When characters are flying, it looks really bad as well. It just looks so fake. Like, there's a scene where Dr. Savannah is just like slowly floating to the ground, and I had to stop myself from laughing because it looked that ridiculous and fake. Another thing that bugged me too is that with the 7 Deadly Sins, when they talked, they did it like kind of telepathically and their mouths didn't move, and it really bugged me, and it made me think that they ran out of money for the CGI budget, and they're just like, yeah, no, it's fine, we just won't make their mouths move and they'll talk telepathically. They'll still have mouths even though they don't use them, but yeah, there you go, we'll save money on that. That's how I think it went down. This movie really drags in the third act. I mean, the first act was pretty good. I was okay with the first act, introducing all the characters, getting all that past all the exposition. Yeah, that was all fine. The second act, I think, is where this movie really shined, where he has his powers, he's trying to learn what powers he has, is trying to help save people and make money at the same time, and all that kind of thing, and all that stuff was very interesting to me. And the third act just dragged. I was no longer invested in what was happening, and I was pretty bored by the end of it. Things I liked about this movie is great performances from Zachary Levi and the rest of the cast. The comedy was great. The performances were fun, and I enjoyed the characters. And the second act was pretty dope. Now, what I didn't like is the CGI is, like, really bad. It's not a major deal breaker for me when it comes to movies, but when it's bad, it is very noticeable and kind of takes you out of the movie. CGI is meant to blend into the movie, not stand out like a sore thumb. Generic, boring villain. The third act just dragged on. I was no longer invested. And the fight scenes were boring. In a superhero movie, the fight scenes were boring. So, would I recommend you see this movie? Yes, because I think you should see it and make up your own opinion, if it's good or not. I really think that if it wasn't for Zachary Levi and other side characters, this movie would just felt generic. But as always, thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll catch you next time.